Tonight, Suede's beautiful one, Brett Anderson. The original Buffalo Gal, Neneh Cherry. And Cast's leading light, John Power. Also performing live, the highly charged Electronic. Won't you forgive me? Hiya, I'm Jo Whiley and welcome back to the first show in my brand new series. Each week I'll be serving up a fine selection of guests and offering an insight into the melodic avant-garde, all washed down with top video action and dynamic discourse, most of the time. Accepting my invitation this evening are Brett, hiya.
Hello.
And Neneh.
Hi.
And John. Hello. So will Björk remain a leading light in the new millennium? Has the Verve's final split closed a chapter in the history of rock and roll? And will the highly acclaimed Mercury Rev be able to keep up speed? A show bursting at the seams over the next 45 minutes, but first, it's the news. Going back to the music versus art, Brett, first of all with you, do you think that they make uneasy bedfellows, or do music and art always go together?
I think they're really, really different things, actually. You know, I think people that kind of, you know, think that, you know, just because creative people can be creative in both fields, I don't think it's the same thing at all. It's like comparing sort of, you know, poetry and flower arranging or something like that. They're just different disciplines.
But it is something that you pay attention to, don't you, with Suede, with
well, I mean,
all your projects?
Yeah, but I mean, kind of like I'm quite on it when it comes to, you know, artwork and stuff. But that is a different thing. I don't ever consider, you know, like, I'd inject art into music, so I just don't think they're mixed, to be quite honest. I mean,
Neneh, your mother's a painter and your stepfather was a musician, so music has always been in your family. Was there ever a choice for you? Could you have gone out and been a plumber or a...
Would have made a great plumber, probably.
You know, it's a career, it's an option.
Than a singer.
No, was it always, yeah, I was going to do music and that's it?
No, I mean, I think music and that whole thing, because it was around me the whole time, it was kind of like lullabies, do you know what I mean? Like when I hear my dad's music now, it makes me feel drowsy. But I think for me, it was like I mean, there was definitely a point in my life when I wanted to be straight.
So your kind of rebellion?
Like normal, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took me a long time to kind of...
Did you actually do that? Did you say to your mum and...
Oh, I used to like want to beat my mother up, you know, literally with like the hairbrush, but she'd get me first. But you know, because she didn't, like, I mean, I lived in New York, but I also grew up predominantly, my home was in Sweden, and it was like out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And for a start, I was a different color to everybody, so that was like weird for me, and I had a flat nose, and so I'd kind of sit like this in class because I didn't want anyone to see it. I think what was cool about my parents was that they didn't kind of force anything on me, and I suppose I try and do the same thing with my kids, you know, it's like...
Yeah,
I'd like,
it's important not to impose your ideas on anyone.
What were your parents like then? Were they kind of trying to tell you what to do?
I think pretty odd, really, for the kind of upbringing. I kind of come from quite a poor background, but they weren't like, it wasn't a traditional sort of working class situation in my house. As in my mum was a painter, and my dad was into classical music and drove a taxi, you know, so it was quite an unusual situation. So all the kids who were around where we lived all thought we were a bunch of freaks, you know.
Did your parents ever try and force any kind of career path on you?
Well, the only thing they tried to force was, like, you know, get an education, which I totally rebelled against anyway, you know what I mean? So they just basically said, try to let me know the truth, you know, reality, which is like, you know, if you don't kind of get into something. They were always encouraging, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once I started music, they were like, you know, yeah. I mean, my dad, like, I can remember my dad sitting me down and playing rock and roll music by Lennon, like, you know, and just saying, listen to that voice, you know, and just trying to show me the difference between, say, you know, things that kind of touch you or touch me and obviously other people, like, you know, and say the equivalent of you know, the crap music.
We heard about Aqua doing this charity record. Do you feel it's kind of, do you get the kind of
you know,
guilt
people
thing,
that
right,
are always cynical saying, like, you know, even, like, let's go to the big one, Live Aid, you know, people say, you know, I've heard, like, people, like, slag it off in the past or whatever, but I think music does touch and reach people, and I know it doesn't change the world, or it can't change the world, but it's going to change the individual's perception of that world, which is all the only reality they've got, like, you know what I mean? So I think it can do something.
Being Live Aid,
oh yeah.
What effect did it have on you?
It was amazing, because it was all
who
like
who were the stars for you?
Well, I always remember Townsend, right, trying to stick his leg over the mic stand and falling flat on his arse, like.
I remember Bob Dylan bit. Do you remember Bob Dylan and what's his name from the Stones?
Keith Richards on it.
Oh, they were like...
Yeah. Well, the American one. By the time I got to America, I was a bit knackered by then, you know.
I know.
We tried to stay up for the whole, like, thingy.
Neneh, you got your only UK #1 with a charity that you did with Cher and Chrissy Hynde.
And Chrissy Hynde,
What was that like doing that?
It was brilliant, actually.
They're good characters.
Well, I know Chrissy from sort of a few years back, and I think she got asked to do it, and then she asked me to do it, and I was like, where am I going to fit in between them two? Like, how's it going to work out? It ended up being a really nice experience. I mean, I felt like a complete, like, you know, like I hadn't been around the block, halfway around the block.
Really?
Being around Cher and Chrissy, because they just started, like, telling us all these mad stories, and, you know.
They're coming round again, though, now. I mean, Cher's just
Yeah,
had this
and I
amazing
mean,
success.
Cher is a really cool woman.
Is she?
Man, we spent, like, you know, half a day talking about anal sex and, you know, just having a scream.
Next up, we're going to sneak an exclusive look at Björk's latest offering. Following on from the sensationally surreal Hunter, Björk has teamed up with the controversial filmmaker Chris Cunningham, the brains behind visual excursions with Madonna, Aphex Twin and Left Field. This is the future. All is full of love. Just spellbinding. Neneh, did that affect you?
Yeah,
That video.
I think that's a very, very beautiful piece of film or video.
But it is more like a piece of film, isn't it? The
Yeah.
music kind of becomes
Yeah.
less relevant than watching the visuals.
It's like a great advert or something, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like the music feels like a really good score for an advert. And like,
Yeah.
it is really beautiful and really stylish. Yeah.
There's something
It's good.
really kind of gentle about it
Yeah,
as well, because
it's
someone said
really
to me,
good.
oh, you know, it's just a bit sort of provocative, and she's being out with herself, and but it's just when I saw it, and I thought, God, that isn't it all.
That's thinking very deeply.
I think it's